Hello, my name is Rick Houston, and welcome to the Scene Vault Podcast, your source for all things NASCAR history. Presented by QWare. Maintain excellence.
But that 95 AllStar Race was the beginning of the end. That was the race that really did us in.
The day NASCAR and all of us associated in any way with NASCAR forget its past, that's the day we don't have any future.
Darrell, you do make the move to Hendrick Motorsports, the 17 car, that awesome looking Tide car. But that first year, 1987, doesn't quite turn out the way that you might have liked. Was there ever a point where you maybe said, what have I gotten myself into? Was this the right move?
Well, Waddell and I were great friends. Barbara and Stevie and Waddell and I, we were great friends, and we always wanted to work together. And so the opportunity came along, and, Rick said, you tell me who you want, that's who we'll hire. So we had what we called the dream team.
Right.
It was me and Waddell and a whole bunch of, Eddie Dickerson and Gary Dehart, and we had a lot of big name people all working on the Tide car. And but it wasn't very long until we got into that program. And again, I'm hands-on. I'm in the motor room. I'm in the car shop. I don't like the way this looks. I don't like that looks. Let's change it. Let's change that. Kind of always been that way. I know what it takes to be successful. I knew what was good for me, what might work for somebody else doesn't always work for me. And so I was hands-on. And Waddell didn't like that. Waddell was kind of like oversaw everything. He was the head engine guy. He was the crew chief. He was the team manager. He made all the decisions. He never had a driver. He had Cale, and Cale didn't care. He just give me a steering wheel. That's all I'm looking for. And so when we started down this Tide road, things just don't work out. He doesn't appreciate me, and all of a sudden I don't appreciate him, and our friendship it deteriorated. And I went and met with Rick, and I said, Rick, this isn't working. I can't work with this guy. We were friends, and now we're not. And we got to do something. So I had a shop on Hudspeth Road that I had built for my sportsman car. It was a 10,000 square foot shop. And I convinced Rick to let me move the Tide car to that shop. And I called Hammond. He was working for Roush, I think. I called Hammond. I said, you want to come to work for me? And he said, I don't know. Let me think about it. He came to work for me. We moved everything to the Hudspeth Road shop, and things got better. The thing about Hammond and I really think it's a shame Hammond's not in the Hall of Fame, because he's done as much as anybody in this sport. If you look at his record, he's won championships with me. He's won races with me. He's done a great job on TV. I think it's a shame he hadn't been in, that his name hadn't come up more often than it has as far as the Hall of Fame is concerned. But the thing about Hammond and I may not have been the smartest guy, and he may not have been the smartest guy, but his two and my two made five. And that's kind of where we always ended up.
Yeah.
He wouldn't always have the right answer. I wouldn't always have the right answer, but between the two of us, we'd come up with the right answer. And I think I got more out of him, and he probably realized he had, and he got more out of me than I realized I had. So we worked really well together. But 87 was a bit of a disaster to start with. I didn't like the Tide car. The first time I saw it, I said, you think I'm going to drive that thing? Look, it looked like a clown car.
Did you not?
I did.
Oh, no.
And it had all that hot orange on the uniform, and it was just, I said, you're making me look like a clown. But it didn't take long until that car that's one of my all-time favorite cars. The thing I liked about it, it didn't matter where that car was on the racetrack. It could be first or it could be last, but you knew it was the Tide car.
Yeah, you're going to see it. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Well, it's 1987. That's when Jessica was born. And how is the impact of becoming a father, and along with Caitlin later on, how does that affect a race driver?
Yeah. Well, 87, we were at Martinsville, and Jessica was born. And Stevie and I had a couple of miscarriages. Just things had not gone well, and we were both wanting to be moms and dads. And finally, we get pregnant with Jessica, and Jessica was born in September of 87, and it was a weekend of Martinsville. And like I said, I hadn't done anything that whole year. I don't think I'd won but a couple of races. Maybe I didn't win any. I don't even remember now. But anyway, we go to Martinsville, and we had the baby on Wednesday. We had Jessica on Wednesday, and then I left, went to Martinsville on Thursday, and got up there, and I think I qualified pretty well, third or fourth, maybe second, third. I was always pretty good at Martinsville. And so I'm calling back to the house, check on the baby and see if everything's all right. So I call back on Saturday afternoon. I say, how's everything going? Well, we have a little bit of a problem. I said, what's wrong? Jessica has Billy Rubin's, and they're going to have to put her in under some kind of something. I'll be home. I'm going to get in the plane. I'll be home. No, you don't have to do that. It's not serious. And they can handle everything. It's going to be fine. I said, are you sure? So anyway, we worked through that. Sunday morning, come to the racetrack. You know, Martinsville, you don't have any garage areas. Then you didn't. You parked on pit road. So we come down Sunday morning. I come to the track, and I walk down the car, and the boys are working on the car. And I look in the seat, and there's a vase with a rose and a note. And I picked up the rose, and I took the note, and it said, "Win one for me, Daddy." Oh. I hadn't won a damn race all year, and she wants me to win one for her. It's going to be a little difficult. Anyway, that's how my day started. It's one of my favorite memories. And we had a decent car all day. We weren't great. And then late caught a caution. I think we all pitted. Dale and Terry pitted. I pitted. They took 2. I took 4. We come out first, second, third. I'm going to finish third. No matter, and that's actually wasn't a bad day at Martinsville for me. I was pretty happy with that. But as the laps wound down and Dale and Terry got to racing each other, well, Dale kept cutting Terry off, and Terry bumped Dale, and Dale had cut him off, and the white flag came out. And I said, "Damn, I got a shot here." We go down in the first turn, and Terry goes to the outside, and Dale crowds him in the wall off of 2. Well, it broke both of them's momentum a little bit. And here I come off turn 2. I got a hit of steam. I go down the back. I think I'll just nerf old Terry a little bit, move him out of the way. I'm not going to wreck him. I don't mean to wreck him. I just move him out of the way. I might finish second. Go down the back straightaway, and I didn't know. Well, Terry was mad at Dale because Dale had put him in the wall. And so Terry's going to go down in turn 3, and he's going to knock fire out of Dale. Here I come. I'm going to knock fire out of Terry. I hit Terry. Terry hits Dale. They spin. I win the race. And I didn't lead that race. I led 600 feet of that race from turn 4 to the start finish line. That's all I led all day long. But I won that race, and it was quite a finish because I didn't really think it. I never thought about putting the 3 car. I think it was a 5 and a 3 in the side pocket and end up winning the race.
Darrell, the first race that I ever remember watching and paying attention to was the 1989 Daytona 500. And I'm from Nashville, Tennessee. I'm a man of faith, and I like the look of your car. And you check all those boxes, and you go to victory lane that day. What do you remember about that day?
Well, it's everything. There's a story to everything. My whole life's a story. That whole week leading up to the 500 was a story. B&R did the engines for Kenny Schrader and I, the Hendrick cars, and they had done some work to the carburetors, and so our carburetors were not illegal. They were not illegal, but they were just different. And so we had gone to Daytona prior and tested. My car was so fast that we ran a smaller restrictor plate than we had to, so it wouldn't go so fast. So we're back down there, and we're getting ready to qualify, and we go through check. Kenny Schrader, same engine, same carburetor, same everything. He breezes right through. I come through with my car, and all of a sudden they pull me off to the side. So I go in and I said, "What's the problem?" He said, "Well, Art Krabs took our carburetor." "Took our carburetor? He can't do that." "Yeah," he said, "it's illegal." He said, "Are you kidding me?" So anyway, I go see Bill, and I said, "Yeah, well, they took our damn carburetor." So we go get another carburetor, which was a good carburetor. There wasn't anything wrong with it, but it wasn't as good as what I had. And we qualified second because the carburetor's worth about 10 horsepower. That was a lot back in that time. So Kenny's on pole, and I'm second. And that's how that whole I had qualified on Goodyear tires. Now you can't run Goodyear tires. You got to run Hoosier tires. I don't want to run Hoosier. I want to run Goodyear. Well, Goodyear had come there with a radial. Bill Elliott blew a tire in practice, broke his wrist, and Goodyear said our tires aren't safe for pulling the tires. So I've lost my carburetor. Now I'm going to lose my tires. Well, the Hoosier tires were smaller than the Goodyears in diameter, say 90 inches compared to 88, which lowers your car down. So we put the Hoosier tires on. I go out and I can't even make a lap. I'm bottoming everything out. Headers, track bar mount, everything. So then we come in and now we got to raise the car up, and that changes all the geometry. So we were in a dilemma. Nothing was going well. The car didn't handle good on Hoosiers. Bottoming out, blah, blah, blah. We're just having all kind of problems. So we work on the car right up to Sunday morning. We were still working on it Sunday morning, trying to get our car like Kenny's car because he wasn't having the trouble. He was already on Hoosier. So we get it pretty close. Start the race. Run pretty good for a while, but then things kind of cycle around, and Kenny and Dale had the two best cars by far. Well, I was still bottoming out and every other thing, and I'd come in every time a caution come out, I'd come in the pits, raise up the car, put some more rounds in, blah, 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 blah. We did that all day long. Finally, with about 54 laps to go, I think it was, we're getting ready to go back to green, and I said, I'm going to come down pit road one more time, put a couple more rounds in the front, top this thing up with fuel. We'll see what happens. Well, we did, came down pit road, popped her up with fuel, put some tires on her, went back out, and with no more cautions. I went 54 laps green, and that was the best my car had been since we put Hoosier tires on it. It handled right. It drove right. I wasn't bottoming out. Started drafting. Hammond comes on the radio about halfway through the run. He says, if you save us a little bit of fuel, I think we can make it. I said, man, that's 54 laps. Furthest we've been all day, 52. I don't think we can get 2 more laps. I don't think we can get 5 miles out of this baby. But anyway, that's what we did. I drafted. Alan Kowicki was on the same strategy. He was going to try to make it to the end. And he had I didn't know this. I'm racing Kowicki, and I can't get by him. I mean, he's a little better than I was. And all of a sudden, we go in the first turn. He takes off up the hill, and I think, well, ran out of gas. He's out of gas, and there's still like 2 laps to go. So I'm convinced that he ran out of gas. I didn't know he had a flat tire. He had a flat and that's why he took off up the hill. So anyway, I'm screaming on the radio, and things quit running. It's not going to make it. It's blubbering. It's sputtering. It's spitting. It'd get in the corner and cut out, and it'd pick up on the straightaway. I don't know how it made it, but it did. And that was the 17 weekend, where car 17, 17th try. Name's got 17 letters in it, handicap 17, house built on 17. I wish I'd have thought of this because I should have said how much fuel was left in your car. I should have said 0.17 gallons. I didn't think about that, but that's about what was left in it. It was just meant to be. I never forget. Hammond, he comes to me before the race. He said, what do you think? I said, well, bud, we're either going to win or finish 17th. I just don't know which yet.
Well, then we get to the Winston of 1989. Go ahead. Take us through that finish with Rusty.
That was kind of my bad. I was mad at Rusty. He didn't – he spun me out. There's no question about that. But I had a fast car, really fast car, and I got a little too cautious. On the last lap, I go down – I'm beating him down the straightaway bad. I go into third turn, and I don't want him to get under me because I don't want him to have to force me up the hill or anything. And I possibly might have backed off the throttle a little too soon. And when I did, it opened a door for him to drive in there and hit me in the left rear and spun me out. And, of course, there's a fight. And Hammond and fighting with Barry Dotson and all of them and on the way to Victory Circle. And I say, I hope Rusty chokes on that $200,000, blah, 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 blah. But I have to take some of – I didn't at the time. But thinking about it and looking back on it, that's probably I would have not done that. But I'm not Rusty Wallace, and he went on to win the championship that year too. So they had a good car, but I had a better car. I just think I got a little too cautious.
Well, how good did it feel to win the 600 the next week? That had to be a measure of revenge.
Yeah, that's what we. That's just how good a car we had. That was my fifth 600, and I think it was my fifth one. That was my race. I love that race. That took some planning, it took some strategy, and I was pretty good at that. And so there was a number of those 600-mile races. I wasn't even a factor till 100 miles to go. And so that turned out really well. But yeah, 89 was my year. I won 7 races that year. I won Martinsville. I won Bristol. I won Daytona. That was one of the best years that I'd had in a long, long time.
After the Winston that year, 7 years earlier, regardless of what Larry Woody wrote, I think the fact does remain that fans were booing. Fans were actually cheering when you get wrecked. And 1989, fans are actually booing Rusty for wrecking you. And you win most popular driver that year. At what point did that transformation in the eyes of the fans begin, in your opinion?
Yeah. I think it probably started when Jessica was born.
Okay.
And to tell you the truth, 87 was, a mediocre year. 88, pretty good. 89, a great year. You win the races you need to win. You win Daytona. I won Atlanta. I won a lot of races that year. We had a victory circle with Jessica, and she's a year and a half, 2 years old. I think people saw a different side of me. I think I changed. I stopped worrying about myself and started thinking about others. And I think I became a little kinder, a little gentler. I think children do that to you. I didn't want my daughter to think I was some jerk or something. So a lot of things changed, and things changed in my life. My faith was stronger than it ever been before. Stevie was right there with me the whole time. I just think people saw a different side of me that they'd never seen before.
Darrell, 1990, you broke your leg really severely during practice at Daytona, and you're out of the car for the next couple of months. Physically, the impact was pretty obvious, but mentally and emotionally, how hard was it for you to cope with being on the sidelines?
Yeah, well, again, it's another story. In May of that year of 90, I had told Rick Hendrick that I decided I wanted to do something on my own starting in 91. And so basically I had told Rick that I gave my resignation in May of that year. It was a Charlotte weekend. And Rick tried to talk me out of it. He said, "You don't want to do that." He said, "It takes a lot of money and a lot of resources. And I know you've done well, and I know you think but you just don't know what you're getting into." And I said, "Well, I started on my own, and I want to end on my own. I wanted to be an owner. That's what I was gearing myself up for. I wanted to do my own thing, have my own team, maybe have 2 cars that I drive when I want to, have some hotshot young driver come in and, carry the banner for us." But anyway, so I told Rick in May of 90 that 91 I was going to go do something else. So he already knew that. And then, of course, July is when I got hurt. So here I am trying to find a sponsor for my team, my new team. I've already told Rick I'm not coming back to the Tide car, so I'm not. I don't have that ride to fall back on. Although Rick to this day is one of my best friends. We're in the car business together. We do a lot of things. He's one of the best friends I've ever had in my life. Couldn't have accomplished anything near what I had without his help. But nonetheless, 90 was over with, and I'll never forget. I was sitting in my office in my shop there on Hudspeth Road, where we had the team at the time, the Tide team, and I'm sitting in my office. I weigh about 150 pounds.
Wow.
I got a broken leg. I don't look well, and I got a meeting with the sponsor, and it's Western Auto, and John Cooper had called me from Daytona and said, "If you play your cards right, these people, they want to get into racing and they want to do it right." And I said, "Okay, great." I said, "Thanks for the heads up." Well, the Western Auto people had gone over to Felix Tabatis's shop and met with Felix first. And Felix had told him, I don't how Felix was. Pretty proud of what he had. I think he wasn't as cooperative as I was. And so they came to my shop. And I'll never forget, I'm sitting behind my desk, sweating like a hog, and my legs sticking straight out because I can't bend it. And they come in my office, John Barlow and a couple other people, and they sit down. I said, let me tell y'all something. Y'all want a race team, this is a place to be. We will put we'll paint the front of the building. We'll put Western Auto on it. These will be Western Auto cars. We'll have the Western Auto parts department. I said, you want to be in this sport, you're at the right place. And lo and behold, I mean, probably met for an hour, and they got up and we shook hands. They said, we got a deal. We'll be your sponsor in 1991. And that was the beginning of a really good relationship. I had a great run with Western Auto, but I was in a dilemma, man, because I abandoned one ride, had a broken leg, and not in very good shape, and in a shop with not very much equipment. But when they came on and they said they were a sponsor of our car, they'd be our sponsor, man. I mean, everybody in that building, Hammond, Eddie Dickerson, everybody that worked there at the time, it just fired them up, and we were determined that we were going to have, we're going to be competitive, and we built cars. I bought cars. We got our engines from Hendrick. We were getting engines from Hendrick Motorsports for a couple of years there, and I think I won two or three races in '91 our first year, and I was so happy that we were able to put together something that was as successful as it was at the time, and because I had to pull myself up by my bootstraps in order to make that happen, and I couldn't have done it without a lot of good people helping me. My brother Bobby, Joe Carver, Van Colley, a lot of people came on board that just it made it work, and it worked really well for a while.
Darrell, as good as you did early that season, you did win at North Wilkesboro, you did win at Pocono, you ran as high as third in the standings, but you go to Daytona again in July, and for the second year in a row,
Yep.
You're involved in this huge crash. This time, you turn over on the backstretch. You didn't miss any races this time around. But was there even the briefest of moments afterwards when you considered getting out of the car?
Well, I think in '90, a lot of people thought because I was hurt so bad with the concussion and broken arm or broken leg, I think most people said, I don't think he'll come back. But, you know me, when you tell me, no, you're not going to do, you can't do something, or that's not going to happen, that makes me that much more determined. So when I came back in the car at the end of '90, that was the best shape I'd ever been in my life. I'd worked out every day of the week, and I was healthy. I felt good, and I had some great runs at the end of '90. Should have won a couple of races. Things just didn't work out, but so I felt, I felt like I'd recovered very well. But then to the day, go to Daytona, and I got a fast car, running up front and racing with the leaders and trying to get the lead, and come off turn 2, and I can't totally remember what happened, but somebody did something and I reacted, and Joe Ruttman was along near side me or close to me. We got hung together, and man, I went rolling down the back straightaway. I flipped 13 times and didn't break anything, but I had a concussion. And unfortunately, back then, the July race was on Saturday, and so we had a week off before we went to Pocono, I think it was. So I had a chance to kind of recover a little bit from that accident, and went on, I think, that year, and I think I may have won Pocono. But anyway, yeah, there were times when, after having children, and being a dad, and thinking about the responsibilities that go along with that, and I'd had a great career, I'd made a lot of money, done everything I really wanted to do. Not only were people were saying, why do you want to keep doing this? I was starting to ask myself, why do I want to keep doing this? But I'd never done anything else. It's all I knew. It's who I was. That was my platform. I felt like if I didn't drive, if I wasn't in a race car, people wouldn't know who I was. I'm number 17 or number 11, whichever one. So I couldn't walk away. There just wasn't no way I could walk away from a sport that had been so good to me and giving me so much.
Darrell, you won the 2 races in 91. You won 3 races in 92. But after that, the rest of the decade was pretty difficult for you. Was there any one thing that you can point to as a cause, or was it just simply a combination of a million different things?
Yeah, no, it was I kind of did it to myself. The first 2 years, 91, 92, I got engines from Hendrick Motorsports. I had a lease program, just like a lot of the guys do today. And I was spending a lot of money on engines. And people kept telling me, you're never going to be a Rick Hendrick or a Childress or a Roush or a Yates. You're never going to be any of those things until you do it all. You've got to do your own engines. So in 93, I put together an engine program. Claude Queen, Lou LaRosa came to work for me for a while. He'd been at Childress's. Claude Queen eventually came and worked for me. But I didn't realize what an undertaking that was going to be. From the end of 92, when we started our engine program, we had to buy all the equipment that it took to build engines, dynos, seeing every kind of machine you can imagine, which was expensive. I had to hire people. I had no bullets. I had no engine.
Yeah.
And so I had to get an inventory of engines. And not only that, you got to be ready. You got to go to Daytona. Then the next week you got to go to Rockingham. And, you had to have restrictor plate engines, blah, 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 blah. So, and I'm calling all these vendors, Sonny, Brian, and all these people I've done business with or been involved with, Diamond Pistons or whomever, cylinder heads. I'm trying to get parts from all these people to build motors. They said, man, you're late. First of all, we don't have the parts because they're committed, and you're late to the party. And so I'm having to take any and everything I can get just to get engines put together, just so I can go to the race. And so we just dug a really, really deep hole, and it took a long time. 93 was a struggle, man. We just didn't have the power. We didn't have the right parts. We didn't have the right pieces. We didn't have the right people. It took time to get the right people. So 94, we got a little bit better, but then 95, things started really turning around. And I felt like our engines were finally there. People were actually wanting to lease engines from us. Claude had done a nice job of putting a motor program together. Things were really starting to look up. We had great run up to, we almost won Martinsville. We almost won Talladega. We come into Charlotte, the AllStar Race, with a car that's very competitive, a car that's going to win that race, I think, if things had worked out a little bit differently. But that 95 AllStar Race was the beginning of the end. That was the race that really did us in.
Yeah, where you and Earnhardt crashed.
Yeah, I was so excited that whole night, that whole weekend. I couldn't wait to get to Charlotte, my favorite track. I knew I had a good car. I knew I had a good chance. Again, it was circumstances, man. I'm coming to the 10-lap shootout, and Gordon's on the pole. I'm outside pole. Dale's third. I don't remember who's fourth. I know if I can get in front of Gordon, I'll win that race because my car is that good. So we come around and we get ready to drop the green flag, and I'm a little antsy. I think I got to get a little jump on him. And I took off a little too soon, and they threw the red or the black flag, red flag, whatever they threw. They said, no. You jumped to start. We're going to do it over. Now, how many do-overs have you ever seen in NASCAR? In an all-star race or any other race?
Not many.
Not any that I can remember. But anyway, we're going to do it over. I said, all right, well, then this time I know I can't jump him, so I'm kind of laid back a little bit this time. We go in the first corner side by side. We go down the back side by side. And I think if I can just get down to turn 3, I'm on the outside. I pinch him down a little bit. I take the lead. I'm gone. Going down the back, and I'm on the outside, and Gordon's in there. And I look off the peripheral vision, and I see sparks flying. Now, wait a minute. I'm out here. Gordon's in the middle. It's that damn Dale. And he had gone all the way down to the inside of the back straightaway, and he's coming down the back with a head of steam. And we get to the third turn, and Gordon's credit, smart guy, he knew he wasn't going to go. He didn't want to get involved in a wreck, so he backed off. I went in on the outside. Dale went in on the bottom. Dale shoved up, and he hit me, and I don't think I'd ever hit the wall any harder in my life. knocked the breath out of me. I thought I was going to die, and broke 3 ribs under my shoulder blade, and I was screwed up from there on. I had to get relief drivers, and the team fell apart. That, like I said, that was just the beginning of the end.
Yeah.
Darrell, at what point did you make the decision to retire? Was it simply because of the offer to join the broadcast booth, or had you already decided to step away from driving when that came along?
Well, a couple of things happened. I got to drive for Dale.
Yeah.
In the one car, the Kinsmore car, which it may not have proven anything to anybody else, but it proved a lot to me that given a good car with good people that believed in me, I could still. I think I could have still won races if I could have stayed in the one car with Dale, with Felipe Lopez and Derek and all those guys. We had Bono, we had Chad, that was a great bunch of guys, and they loved me and I loved them, and we were really getting things together. If I could have stayed in that car in '98, I could have won some races, but it wasn't meant to be. Dale had already told Park, "You get well and you want to get back in the car, it's your car." So Park got well, he got back in the car, and I went and drove the Tabasco car for a little while for Tim Beverly. That was a disaster, the Tabasco fiasco. And then in '98, Dale Jarrett had some surgery. I don't know, he had back surgery, some kind of surgery. Well, Todd called me and wanted to know if I wanted to drive the '88 car. Well, I don't know what he's talking about. So he just called me and wanted to know if I want to drive the '88 car. I said, boy, it's going to make Dale mad. I said, kicking him out of the car. No. In Japan. We're going to go to Japan, and he can't go, and we want to go to Japan and drive the car for us. Oh, okay. Well, I can do that. And so we go to Japan and qualified really well and running pretty good and got wrecked by Bobby Hamilton, one of my best friends, but that's what happened. On the way back, we're flying on the plane, and Travis Carter calls me and wants to know what I'm going to do in '98 or '99 and for the next couple of years. I said, well, I don't really know why. He said, well, Kmart wants the car. They want to have a cup car, and Carl Haas and I are trying to put it together. And what do you think? Would you be interested? I said, yeah, I might be interested in that. It sounded like it could be fun. So that's how I ended up in the Kmart car. But this funny story, I got to tell you this. So Carl Haas, I don't know him. He's an IndyCar guy. I don't know. I know who he is, but I don't know him that well. And so Travis tells me, so you got to call Carl and talk to him and explain to him that you want to drive the car and that you're excited about driving the car and so forth. I said, all right, I'll call him. So I called Carl. I said, Travis Carter wanted me to call you. And so we're talking along, and he says, he ain't saying much, I go, what's wrong with this guy? So anyways, finally he says to me, by the way, who the hell is this? I said, I beg your pardon? He said, who am I talking to? I said, this is Darrell Waltrip. Oh, Darrell Waltrip. I thought it was his brother. I thought Michael Waltrip wanted to drive our car. He said, I like his, I appreciate you calling me. I like his story. He said, I think we can work something out. He said, but sorry about that. I thought it was your brother that was calling me. That's how that relationship started. But anyway, that didn't turn out so hot either. I should have quit at the end of '98 after driving Dale's car and things didn't work. The way things turned out. I should have quit in '98, but I always look back. If I'd have quit in '98, I probably would have never gone to work for Fox. I'd have probably gone to work for ESPN or NBC or somebody else. The Fox deal would have come along. I'd have been under contract, and I would have not been able to do. Would not have had my job with Fox. So I drove 99 and 2000 in that Kmart car, and in the process of all that happening, Fox came in, David Hill, and they wanted to get in the started carrying the NASCAR races. He and I became the best of friends. They hired me, and of course the rest is history. But I'm not sure that would have ever happened if I'd have retired at the end of '98 and done something else. So I always look back and think, well, that was kind of a miserable 2 years, but it paid pretty good dividends. I made a lot more money doing TV than I ever made driving a race car.
Really?
Oh
Wow.
yeah.
Huh. Darrell, you have talked several times, many times, about the 2001 Daytona 500. So I don't really want to go too deep into that itself. But you and Dale had definitely had your share of ups and downs over the years. You, like you said, you wound up driving for him.
Yeah.
But going into that race, the thing that really sticks out in my mind was the fact that you did a sit-down interview with him.
Yeah.
First of all, how strange did it feel for you to be doing an interview? And secondly, what do you remember about that conversation with Dale?
Well, there's a number of things I remember. Dale was happy, and Jenny Jalasco was working in the pits, and she was down interviewing Dale, and he'd give me that headset, let me talk to him, and he'd get on the headset, and we'd talk back and forth. But the interview, I'll never forget. We talked about the open face helmet, because he had to have that, and how people had just kept telling him he need to run the full face helmet, much safer. Dale's opinion about a full face helmet was, because of the way the helmet was made, if you hit something, it would catch the bottom of that helmet and push your head back and break your neck. That's why he said he didn't like the full face helmet. The other thing was, I always thought this was weird, but he couldn't feel the air.
Yeah.
If he covers up his face, when he leans his head over out the window like he liked to do, that he wouldn't be able to feel the air coming around the car. And so that was another reason he didn't like it. But I'll never forget, I said, so I've retired. I said to him, I retired. I said, when are you going to retire? Retire? Why would I retire? I am in the best place I've been in my life. My family's, I'm good with my family. My race team is performing. I'm competitive. I have no intention of retiring anytime soon. And I'll never forget that. He said I think his words were, I'm the happiest I've ever been in my life.
Hmm.
Wow.
Well, finally, Darrell, how would you like to be remembered?
Just remember me. Yeah. No, there's no way to. It's funny, Wade, because I think Kyle Petty told me this one day. It hadn't been too long ago. He said, "How do you like having your driving career that you had, and all people remember you by is boogity, boogity, boogity?"
But that is something.
Oh, well, it's like, I think David Ifs or somebody said to me one time, he said, "Look like the era is over with." I said, "Yeah, but at least I had one."
Oh, that's right.
So anyway, I don't know. I love my driving career. I loved what I accomplished on the track. But some of the best years of my life have been in that TV booth, working with Larry and Mike and covering the races. Those were some good years.